You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W297CL Levittown.
This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, a weekly broadcast that breaks down each Eagles game better than anyone else. The Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show is broadcasting live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken and is heard on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM and is brought to you by the Great American Pub, Independence Blue Cross, Penn Community Bank, Fogo de Show, and Hand and Stone Spa. We now go live to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And welcome, everybody, to the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken. It's Monday night at 6 o'clock, which means it must be time for the Monday Night Kickoff, a recap of the Eagles game every week. We thank everybody here at the pub and everybody listening and watching tonight. Hell of a game last night. By the way, one quick thing on a personal level. I did say on WIP the other night, I've never worn a jersey in my life of anybody, any sports team, even though I'm the biggest sports fan in the world. So if they win, I buy a Brandon Graham jersey in honor of a caller. I did it, so you got it. Here I am. Here's my co-host, Paul Domowitch. Hell of a game last night, Domo.
Hell of a game. Slow start, but they finally got it into gear and played really well.
Give me a second-half team all the time. If I'm not going to play four quarters, give me the third and the fourth, in which they were great. Really, the fourth, they were great. And we got a great guest to talk about it with us. He is from North Carolina. He is a self-proclaimed Southerner living in the North. You loved him with the Daily News. You love him with PHLY Philly. The one and only Les Bowen. How are you, buddy?
Just great, Jolly. Thanks.
Great to have you here. Damo, Les, wow. I mean, 24-19, obviously the last touchdown made it sound a little closer than it was. You had Justin Tucker struggling, blah, 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 blah. Kind of throw it in the blender, and in this remarkable game with a great defense and stopping Jackson and the running game getting going and Saquon and this and that and Cooper DeJean's tackle, what stood out most, Tomo?
Well, the defense, I think. I mean, they just continue to amaze me. I mean, yesterday against, probably the most productive offense in the league.
Not Swarthmore, by the way.
Yeah, not Swarthmore. I mean, they just stepped up, and then they at the beginning gave up a couple of scores. After that, I mean, they were just. The Ravens are, as we talked about earlier, the best red zone offense in the league as well, and they held them to two touchdowns and 5 red zone opportunities. I mean, that's just unheard of against a team like Baltimore.
No turnovers in this game, which was a big key. But I think the second most correlative stat in the NFL to winning is red zone touchdowns. Les Bowen, if you were doing a sidebar on this game, not the game story, what one thing would you have picked out in this Eagle win that could have cemented them as the NFL's best team right now? Of course, it doesn't matter right now, but 8 in a row is 8 in a row.
I probably would have wanted to write about DeJean or Carter, Jalen Carter, one of the two players. That would have been my sidebar angle, I believe.
Looks like Howie kind of hit on the cornerbacks in the draft this year, huh?
Oh, that way, and DeJean is just so intuitive, and he's for a rookie. It's amazing to see a guy play like that. Not that Mitchell isn't amazing as well, but you notice DeJean more because he's closer to the line of scrimmage, and a lot of times they don't throw at Mitchell. Yeah.
I think it would be fair to say that of the two, Mitchell's the athletic freak, the great hips. He's also an intuitive guy. You can see it by the way he plays. Cooper DeJean is incredibly intuitive. The 4th and 1, the other game, the perfect form tackle on 845-pound Derrick Henry, Damo. That's what they teach you in tackling one-on-one. This team has become a much better tackling team. We see Zach Bond, Carter. But not only do they tackle, they gang tackle. They have one to the ball. They have multiple to the ball. Is Fangio a guy that teaches that, multiple to the ball?
Yeah. I mean, they mentioned it on the broadcast yesterday that, they emphasize rallying to the ball. And, you saw that on a couple short passes, especially when you're going up against a guy like Derrick Henry. They're going to be missed tackles. So you need people that are going to be right there helping out. And that's, I mean, you mentioned Cooper DeJean. in today's game, with so much three wide receiver sets where a slot corner is on the field, 90% of the time, having a guy like that is just invaluable.
Well, basically, a base defense is what an NFL team plays most of the time. The Eagles' base defense is nickel. They're, like you said, 95% of the time to attack the three wide receivers. One note quickly before we go on. Dallas Goedert, who hurt his knee in the fourth quarter yesterday, apparently is week to week with a knee injury. Hurt again. Scored yesterday, obviously. Grant Calcaterra gets pushed in now. Les, this team has embraced the next man up concept. Yesterday, Reed Blankenship went out. Tristan McCollum came in.
Yep.
We've seen at cornerback Rodgers come in. Pretty impressive the depth they got, huh?
Yeah, McCollum made a big play late in the game. He ended up playing 21 snaps, I think, which is more than he's played in quite a while on the defense. He usually plays special teams. Calcaterra did very well the last time Goddard was out. It was almost seemed to me like Jalen Hurts was more comfortable with Calcaterra as an outlet, as a dump-off kind of guy than he is with Goddard in some games. But that does make you very thin at tight end. If anything happened to Calcaterra, you'd be watching guys whose names we don't even know,
More pronounced.
Yes. So that's concerning. And Dallas Goedert's career arc has been really interesting to me. The deal when he was drafted in 2018 was, well, this guy is so big and strong, he's going to be, like Zach Ertz, only bigger and tougher.
Strong and brittle, unfortunately.
And he doesn't stay on the field. He's a great, fine player, great guy, but it's something every few weeks with him. And I know it's not his fault, obviously, but it's, I don't know if ironic is the right word. I'd have to ask Alanis Morissette about that. But it's concerning that he just can't stay healthy and ever have a dominant season or really get into a rhythm of, since Hurts arrived, I don't think there's been a time when Goddard was really in the flow for a period of successive games.
And we've all heard the Buddy Ryan line, the two most important abilities a player can have are durability and availability. Eagles have a decision to make, maybe with Dallas Goedert in the offseason. Want to get to Saquon Barkley a lot because he's unbelievable. 1,499 yards, 100 plus yesterday, great in the fourth quarter. But before we get to Saquon, Domo, you and Les and I were talking before the show about something about something Les just brought up, about Jalen, the slow starts, and the way he targets receivers. NFL quarterbacks are obviously taught to go through progressions, but NFL quarterbacks are also human and have preferences. How does that impact Jalen?
Yeah, his decision-making still is I think his biggest weakness. He doesn't seem to see the whole picture as quickly as a lot of guys. He's if he didn't have the protection he gets from this offensive line, his sack number, which is alarmingly high to be already for a guy behind the line he's got and the receivers he's got to throw to, would be monstrous. It would be much higher because, there's people open that he just doesn't seem to see sometimes. And he seems to favor guys. We talked about this. He doesn't like – he clearly doesn't seem to – something about Jahan Dotson that rubs him the wrong way trust-wise. Calcaterra – Calcaterra, you mentioned, he went through a period earlier in the season where he caught like 13 balls in I want to say 4 games. Then all of a sudden he's off the charts. He's still playing. He's out there for a lot of snaps because now they have enough trust in him as a blocker that he's out there getting his playing time. But he's been targeted twice in the last 4 games, I want to say. Yeah. That's just
Well, the beginning of the games, it's almost like they lead Hurts out there blindfolded.
Yeah.
And he's feeling his way around it. I know they study a lot during the week and watch a lot of film, but it's almost like he can't absorb it until he actually sees the opponent for a while.
How much is it? You talk about the third receiver, and obviously Dotson and Johnny Wilson haven't put up numbers.
Yeah.
Missing Devontae, obviously missing Dallas only in fourth quarter when they weren't throwing the ball anyway. But how much of Devontae's absence? How much does Devontae's absence hurt this team, guys?
Well, that's big. It's huge. Him and A.J. Brown probably are as good a wide receiving tandem as there's in the league, and you take him away, It puts a lot more pressure on the other guys. But they don't really have if he's not going to throw to Dotson, yesterday they had Britton Covey out there for, I think, 7-8 snaps. There's no purpose to that.
First series.
Yeah. They threw to him. They threw to him. They threw to Shipley.
And they threw to Shipley on his only snap of the game.
And they threw to Paris Campbell on that first. These aren't the first three. When you're scripting your first 15 plays.
You got to think about this more, Tom. But Jalen Hurts always said he likes to go international, and he had a chance to throw to Paris.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's good, John.
Yeah, there we are. All right. One aspect of this game, guys, it was absolutely noticeable to anybody watching or paying attention, and Nick Sirianni talked about it in the postgame. He was asked if they matched Baltimore's physicality. He said, you should have asked me if they matched ours. Jalen Carter, obviously a wrecking ball. The offensive line, less usually, not always, nothing's always, but the team that's more physical on both sides of the line, obviously Eagles missing BG, wins the game or has a better chance to win the game. How important is that, and how does it translate to winning?
Oh, it was very important, and it is every week. And he's absolutely right about that. And that was the thing that surprised me the most, probably, is that they were the more physical team in Baltimore, which it's not always easy to do on the road, Baltimore got Roquan Smith back for that game. I was pleasantly surprised at how
it's
physical.
It's interesting what you said, because home and road, there's all kinds of ways to think about it. You walk out onto a field, you don't know where you are. You could be in the Malta or here. Why does where you're standing, the state you're standing in, impact your physicality?
I think just the crowd and the environment and the atmosphere of the game. I know in hockey they used to talk about that. There was you remember Lindy Ruff, the coach, who's now coaching the Sabres yet again. Ty Domi, Lindy Ruff was kind of a tough guy as a player, and Ty Domi joked that he was rough at home, Lindy on the road.
I want to give you a number from yesterday's game, from Saquon's season, which is just amazing. You talked about the importance of the second half. And yet going into yesterday's game, that was supposed to be what was going to happen to the Eagles, that Derrick Henry was going to wear them down, and the second half they would be putty in the Ravens' hands. It didn't happen. Barkley was the one that in the second half had, I want to say, 65 of his yards came in the second half. This season so far, he leads the league in rushing with 1,499 yards. 982 of them have been in the second half.
Now, the Eagles start slow. That 982 is unbelievable no matter how you slice it. What goes on in the first half? Eagle fans say you're looking for a little weakness in the sea of wonderful right now. And people say, well, the injuries, obviously that's a problem, but the slow starts. Biggest reason for that is blank, guys.
Well, they're a team that needs to wear the other team down. I think that's something they count on. I think that's part of what makes them good. Their physicality isn't as pronounced in the early part of the game because the other team is fresh. Yeah. But it happens on both sides of the ball. I don't think that gets talked about enough. Yeah. The first two series, every game, the defense is awful as well. Yeah.
Baltimore had the ball the whole first quarter.
If you only watch the first quarter of their games, you would think they were going to get blown out most of the time. Yesterday was the same. We were all complaining about this on social media. When Justin Tucker missed that extra point, I joked that the upright was playing better defense than the Eagles so far.
Doink.
But then it all snaps into place suddenly. It's a puzzling thing. Yeah. I do think there's a problem with Hurts offensively, with him getting settled in and getting in a groove. Maybe they should just run the ball early and throw really simple
people
passes.
Say, get Saquon in the game, get the running game going. Is it that simple, or is there something else?
Well, you see teams stop the run game early sometimes, like the Rams game. There were they ran Saquon a lot, and until they wore the Rams down, it wasn't always that successful. But throw easy little swing passes. I don't know if it's Jalen or Kellen Moore who has this fixation with A.J. Brown 40 yards down the sideline, but, put that in the bag and leave it there for a while. Yeah. Throw the slants like you did eventually yesterday. I thought that was a huge key to getting their offense going.
He's not a big guy throwing over the middle.
A lot of them were coming off those RPOs that they were running. Sometimes it's just different things, different days. Yesterday, I think a big part of why they couldn't get going early was the penalties. They had 6 penalties in the first quarter. 6.
Yeah.
I mean, that factors out to 24 over the course of 4 quarters. That's my math background.
Very good there.
Yeah.
Paul Domowitch Mathematical Institute classes begin Tuesday. When we come back, we'll talk about the schedule. We'll talk about the number 1 seed, the Lions. The playoffs are starting to smell close. 8 in a row. Next week, Carolina, who's still an NFL team. They've come close the last couple weeks. By the way, Les Bowen, our guest, Matt Eberflus was supposed to be our guest tonight. Unfortunately, the time ran out on him in the car over here, and Les was able to jump in. If you saw the game last Thursday, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, sorry about that. We're back with the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Stay with us, folks, right after this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
Welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Don't forget, you can watch the show live at WBCBsports.com and YouTube Live by searching WBCB Sports. We're here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM with Paul Jolovitz. I'm Paul Jolovitz. That's
You are?
Yeah.
No one told me. I thought you were Brandon Graham.
I feel like I am Brandon Graham tonight. I feel like Professor Erwin
Same
Corey.
body type.
Same body type, yes. Not quite. Paul Domowitch and Les Bowen, who are going to discuss Saquon Barkley. That's 3 names in a row I got right. Guys, we have an audience member here from Buffalo, Chris, who, in fairness, thinks Josh Allen is the MVP of the NFL right now. One of the great things I like about Barkley is he doesn't care. It's all the team. If he gets it, great. But he likes to get credit other places. He's been unbelievable. He took control in the second half last night. Obviously, Derrick Henry didn't have his game as good as Barkley. What's Barkley doing? And Damo, John Mara, the owner of the Giants, how much is he sleeping these days?
I think Barkley right now is the least of Mara's concerns. I mean, that whole team is a dumpster fire, and he's probably trying to figure out how, So I don't think he's fretting a whole lot over the fact that anymore that they let Barkley go.
What do you think, Les, about that one?
Well, it's funny how they've found ways of trying to cope. You see on social media, like Giants fans after last week's game when Barkley was so incredible, there was this rationale that developed, well, we didn't really have an offensive line or a quarterback, so we couldn't really use him. It's like saying, well, I have this beautiful piece of historic antique furniture that's worth a lot of money, but I can't really furnish the rest of the house right now, so I'm just going to put it out on the curb and see who takes it. You know?
Well, I'll say
no.
The difference though about the way they've built. I mean, they haven't done anything right in the construction of that
the
team.
Subcontractors got.
But there's a lot of things to credit Howie for with where this team is right now. But when they went and made the decision in 2021 that Jalen was the guy they were going with, they were going to pay him the big money, and he was going to be their quarterback. What they immediately vowed to do was go and find the finest parts to put around him.
Yep.
Right.
They find, they end up with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I mean, they already had Goddard. But, and then last year.
And Dickerson and
the
other pieces.
They put together an outstanding offensive line. I mean, many of the pieces were already there with Kelsey and at the time and Lane Johnson. But last spring they go out and get Saquon, and a lot of people, including myself, wondered, is this something they really need right now?
Yeah, I was kind of taken. I wasn't taken aback, but I was sort of caught off guard by it.
Yeah.
I didn't really see that as something they were looking at or
stroke of genius.
Yeah.
See, I think the NFL went so far. Leagues do this. People do this in life. Copycats. The NFL went so far the other way, thinking that the running back is like a long snapper. Running backs are a very important part of football.
Yeah.
They can impact the game. Obviously, whether you have one or two, if you have a great player. But look at Barkley, Gibbs, Derrick Henry. McCaffrey got hurt last night.
Well, one thing that's happened, Jolly, is there was like a 20-year migration to passing is everything, and the rules supported that, and the Super Bowl winners supported that. But eventually defenses started getting lighter and lighter and focusing more and more on edge rush and pass coverage, and suddenly it became easier to run again, I think. And if you have a really good defense, if you're not going to get behind by 2 or 3 touchdowns,
which helps,
you can certainly have a run-based offense in today's NFL. And 10 years ago, I wouldn't have said that, frankly. I remember when the Saints won the Super Bowl. Their defense was horrible.
Mark Ingram.
They just scored like 40 points a game and let it, and they threw it. They didn't run it a whole lot. It was Drew Brees, throwing to 5 different guys. And
if you have Drew Brees, that's cool, but not everybody has Drew Brees.
But I think the thing that you still have to watch with running backs is you don't draft one high in the first round.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
so
it's not so much.
Why not?
It's not so much that they devalue
because they don't last very long.
Gibbs went 12th. Robinson went 8th. I mean, and they're both great picks.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that the lifespan, for the most part, history has shown is not very long. Teams made the conscious effort that they haven't devalued the running back. They just feel that they can find that there's a bigger market for them, that they can go get one in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. They can go get Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round, and he can step in and help you win.
Yeah, it's different than other positions.
As opposed to spending your money on a guy like Barkley. But there are a few guys that are exceptions. Derrick Henry obviously is an exception.
Put it this way, if you made Barkley a free agent again, if it was March 26th again, how much does he get and how many teams are looking?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like the redraft. I mean, it happens all the time. Something I thought was very interesting last night in the game, guys, Nick Sirianni. We really haven't talked about this that much, but Sirianni was very conservative last night. Punted on 4th and 1 early. Harbaugh, of course, went for it on 4th and 8 in the 4th quarter. But it's like Sirianni could sense that his defense was really rocking and play field position ball. Of course, Mann had a 59-yard punt to the 1, which made it look a little better. But Lester Sirianni obviously won 8 straight games. Talk about an extension. Does he have his finger more on the pulse now? It seems he's getting that as well as the respect of the team. I thought he coached a really good game last night.
Well, I think everybody, certainly he is, but I think everybody has a better sense of what this team's identity is now. After 4 or 5 games, you didn't know what its identity was. You didn't know if the defense was any good. You didn't know if Hurts could stop throwing interceptions and fumbling the ball away. There were all kinds of things going on. It wasn't that long ago. It's really weird to think about. Remember that Cleveland game was the first game after the bye, and they won very narrowly against what at that time was a terrible team, and people were up in arms. That was the press conference, post-game press conference where he brought his kids out. People were about to burn the place down. So much has changed just in that little bit of time. And, I think he has a better sense of what his team is. I think it's more obvious to everybody what his team is.
Tom, what do you think? The coordinators are what they are, but Sirianni's done a good job.
Yesterday, he has. Yesterday, the 4th and 1 you mentioned was kind of a 4th and 2. It was early in the second quarter. It was right after Barkley had lost a yard.
Right.
It was too long to go with the tush push. If it were shorter, he would have thought nothing of doing it, I think. So I think that affected why he punted there. But, yeah, I also think he's finding his footing and what his role is.
Yeah.
For a while there, I don't think he knew. I mean, he was like a guy that just didn't know what to do with himself. Now he's kind of getting comfortable with the overseer role and I mean, Vic, he was never gonna. I mean, Vic's up in the booth anyway, so he's not going to get in his face because he doesn't know anything about defense. But there was a concern about him stepping on Kellen Moore's toes.
Right.
I think he's letting Kellen do his job right now.
All right, so we'll play Jeopardy and go football for 800. And the answer is Nick Sirianni gets an extension before the end of the regular season. A, yes. B, no, Les.
I don't know. I guess so. I don't think there's any great hurry on that. It's not like they have free agency for coaches. But I wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen.
Does it help get the Super Bowl run? You're thinking Super Bowl, and you wouldn't think we have our coach long term. You don't want to have to worry about this or that or the other. You have the other side, which says exactly what you said, Domo.
This is a team that lost 6 of its last 7 last year. I don't think Jeffrey Lurie's going to be in a rush to give him an extension until he sees how more of this season plays out.
Right.
They've got more important things to deal with as far as contracts, and that's players
I would
like
get
Zach
Bond.
Yeah,
signed to a contract.
Zach Bond.
I don't think Nick's thinking about it right now. I mean, he knows this his situation, so I don't think there's going to – it would not surprise me if he doesn't get a contract until after the season.
All right, we look down the road, and obviously Nick Sirianni, Super Bowl, what happened last year. It looks like it's far in the memory bank right now. The schedule, you want to be the number 1 seed. You want to pick that home championship game if you can. Super Bowl is the only goal, not the division, not the playoffs, not the championship game, not the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl. And I think they run the table less. I think unless they have a game where they have no mathematical need to win it, and with the Lions,
that will happen, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it will.
You don't think so?
They only have 5 games
left. The Lions have a
left.
lot of tough games. The Lions did not look good.
They didn't, but for a game not to matter, they're basically going to
Yeah.
lose 3 games. And then it could
Okay,
happen.
that's right. You're right about that. 3 games would be a lot.
What about this? These was 4 out of 5 at home, a bus trip for the other one.
Yeah.
The division games, the schedule. Do they run the table? And if they do, how good is this team? 13 in a row? You can't really look in advance, but things look pretty rosy right now, guys, huh?
I'm looking forward to the Pittsburgh game.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's right now is a really good team. They barely beat who they beat by.
Cincinnati.
Well,
they gave up 38, but they scored 44.
Russell Wilson's playing. He's probably back to the Russell Wilson we knew. They've got a solid defense. I mean, they're coming here. But I want to see that game. It's not going to make or break their season.
I think Tomlin's done an incredible job. I don't think Pittsburgh is that good talent-wise, but
they're maximizing.
He made that change from Fields to Wilson.
And he's using Wilson as a game manager, which is kind of what Jalen is these days. But good coaches.
Well, Wilson threw for like 400 and some yards yesterday. But nobody thought that was – everybody was taken aback by that move because they were winning with Fields, but they weren't scoring. And – it was a great move. It was a genius move.
Tomo, how much of that move, I mean, if you're a first-year head coach, you don't want to do something that could be backfire on you and put you back as a coordinator somewhere. How much does Tomlin being there forever and obviously as long as he wants, how much does it impact making that kind of move? And would moves be made more often like that if coaches had more security?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with Russell Wilson's salary. I don't know. It's considerably more than Fields was making, so I think that contributed to it. But he also, I think, felt, you go to Russell Wilson, somehow it doesn't pan out. You go back to Fields, and there's no, there's no ripple effect that there would be if you did it the other way around.
All right, we're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about everything around the NFL, the playoff picture, the schedule, the seeding, tonight's Monday night game, which is something that this place, the pub, should be full. People in the streets waiting for the Browns and the Broncos. And we'll examine the number 27. Why? Come back and find out on the Monday Night Kickoff right after this. Stay with us.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, back here with the Monday Night Kickoff. We thank you for watching and for coming. We're here every Monday. Next Monday, 6 o'clock, Coach Dick Vermeil will be here. Our guest on the Ice Wednesday from Chickies and Pete's in Marlton is Al Morgani. Tonight we have Paul Domowitch and Les Bowen here at the Monday Night Kickoff. And take a look at the number 27 first. And we want to get to what Les is doing today because Les is doing some nice things with PHLY, wrote for the Daily News forever and ever and ever with Damo. But, guys, 27 is the oldest starter yesterday. Was Slay out, the oldest starter on the Eagle defense. This defense, barring injuries, could be lights out for years to come. And contractually, guys, pretty good shape cap-wise, Les.
Yeah, I think so. You can see that in the draft they'll probably want to bolster the edge rush some, but that's not. It's not like they don't have anybody there. They've got to re-sign Zach Bond, as we mentioned.
Sweat's playing well.
Yeah,
Nolan Smith.
Yeah, the Bond thing is interesting. Damo and I were talking about that on the way over here. It's a weird situation in that he's playing a position he hasn't played in the NFL, and he's doing so well. But you can't. If you're fashioning a contract, this is all you really have to go on. You can't really look at this previous years in a different role.